We're back in the Eford Studios thanks to our friends at Empire Properties, Empire Eats. I'm Joe Giglio, not Joe Ovius. Day 2 of Ovius's Grand Disneyland excursion.
This was not one that a Founders Club member gave all of the money to be able to go on this one. This one is like with family.
I think if they had, they could have.
Right. This is the opportunity. Sorry, guys. It's just like the shop, just like the hat vault. It's closed. Your opportunity to get a Disneyland trip is done. Joe left.
So instead, Chip Patterson, CBS Sports, Broughton legend Chip Patterson.
I should have worn some purple and gold for you.
No, instead you're repping the college football playoff and the All-State Sugar Bowl. I love it. I love it. That's why you're here. Everyone knows the Cover 3 podcast. You do such a great job. Part of me today was like, man, I should really let Chip drive today. And then I was like, no, it's a little bit of a busman's holiday for him that he's coming in to help me out anyway. So it's fine. It's fine. I can do this.
Right.
I can do this, as demonstrated yesterday by my ability to put a live stream live before 2:00. Hey, I got the audio out too.
Hey,
I was very proud of myself. I got to tell you. We're here in Eford Studios thanks to our friends at Empire. We're also here at Copiers Plus, copiers-plus.com. Those brackets are gone, but taxes are here. So anything your business needs, print needs, data management needs, Copiers Plus is there for you. Go to copiers-plus.com. And I'm going to back up so you can see my swag for the day. Good. This is amazing. Like, home field.
Give us the flap.
Yeah. The hawk will never die.
Never stop flapping.
Joe Ovius did not really
flapping. That is a flapping.
Joe Ovius didn't appreciate that I like to gamble. Joe Ovius is named Hernando Jose because he's born on St. Joseph's Day. So I told him, I'm like, I always bet on St. Joseph's Day.
Were they in the Crown this year?
They were in the NIT, yeah.
CBI.
But I told him, I'm like, it's a thing, man. The hawk never dies. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So then we went to home field. We saw this beauty. And they also have the hawk keep flapping. Ovius loves to screw up. You can get your own homefieldapparel.com. They have it's a great app. That's what I use. And I know you're thinking, St. Joe's, wow, they must really have everything. Yes, they do. They have an amazing selection of, you name the school, they have at home field. Use our promo code OG24. You can save 15% on your initial order. All right. You can get Duke stuff there if you're feeling kind of froggy. You can also get the other teams that are in the Final Four. And I'm glad you're here to talk about this with me because we obviously we're a hyper local podcast. You do a national podcast. We're a hyper local podcast. Okay. We spend a lot of time talking about Duke, how it pertains to the rest of college basketball. I'll be honest with you. We talked about Auburn this year, Alabama, Florida. Let me just name all the SEC teams now. We talked a little bit about Michigan State, Michigan, what was going on in the Big Ten. Houston flew completely under my radar this year. So much to the point that the last time you were here, if I could turn the camera around, I would show the people that you actually wrote our gambling tip to me about Houston and first half unders. Opposing teams unders.
Yeah. It was called the Cougs Cold Shower. That the first half team total under of a Houston opponent when they came to Houston, because the defensive intensity was like a shock to the system. Bobby Hurley, Arizona State head coach, said after the game, and he was using something that every coach wishes an opposing coach would say. He said, I swear it's like there's 6 guys out there. Yeah. That their rotations, the way they defend ball screens, they just simply cover more space than any other college basketball team, 1 through 5. And they are the best pick and roll defense in the country. And when
so they much switch on everything,
so the way they attack it, the way they create turnovers on a third of pick and rolls. I mean, this is just one of those things where, because they are old, because it is a sort of a mentality and identity and a culture that Kelvin Sampson has built in, like they are really good at this. And you know what else they've done? They showed up from the American Athletic Conference. And when most teams take a jump up in competition, they end up, having to take a year or two to get settled.
Yeah.
They have run through the Big 12, supposedly like the best conference in college basketball over the course of the last 10 years. They showed up. They've won the regular season 2 years in a row, each by multiple games. This year, they added on the conference tournament title as well. Last year, they reached the conference tournament championship game. Do you know how many losses they have in regulation this season? And do you know when it was?
The second game of the year.
Against who?
Auburn.
What? Are you kidding me? I mean, the thing that is easy to look at Houston is to think about the slow pace, see some of these 59 to 51 kind of scores, and just think that, there is no skill there, that it is some sort of trickery. But I really believe is their length, their athleticism, and their coaching that has allowed them to be they've got more NCAA tournament wins than any other program in the last 3 years. I mean, they just need to finally be healthy and try to be able to punch the ticket on this thing. Unfortunately, they do have an opponent on Saturday night that's going to make that difficult. But I am a Houston respecter. Lumberton Zone, Kelvin Sampson. I'm a Houston Cougars respecter right now.
I didn't realize they've won 17 games in a row.
Yeah.
They were also 4 games clear of the field in the Big 12.
In the Big 12.
Which may not be the best conference in the country, but it's competitive.
It had one of the best winning percentages in this tournament.
Well, yes, that as well. I think people look at Houston, and we're going to get to a call from Paul here that will disparage them as playing the same style as Virginia, just without the snobbery. I'm not quite sure they're that.
Right.
They're a tough team. They're a tough defensive team. They're an old team. I'm here for their experience. I'm here for their age. You mentioned all the wins that they have in this tournament. They are under the radar, though, of those 4 number 1 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was there in San Antonio in 2008, and it was Carolina, Kansas, UCLA, Memphis. Memphis had Derrick Rose, Chris Douglas Roberts. Like, they had some ballers on that. Whoever the big guy was, the smaller
Dozier?
4. Oh, yeah, he was a tank.
Right? Wasn't it Dozier? PJ Dozier?
He was a tank.
Dozier for the championship. There's a call. Jim Nance has a call before the game goes to overtime. So Chalmers hits the shot, and Memphis gets Memphis gets a 60-foot heave from Dozier, and it could not be more off the mark. But Nance always prepped Dozier for the championship, and it's in the 8th row.
So the last time there was a Final Four with all number 1s, the one team that was disrespected was the one that won it, right? If you think about it.
Okay.
Because you get there and Derrick Rose was the player of the year, was amazing, okay, for Memphis. UCLA just so happened to have Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love.
Mm-hmm.
Almost certain Russell Westbrook came off the bench for that team because they had the little munchkin guard that did a lot of their scoring. Without looking up his name.
I mean, it might be Jrue Holiday. The run that we were having at UCLA during that run was,
but they had some talent.
They had some
Kevin Love was an attraction at the time. He was a guy who really, really talented. Carolina had Hansborough. Carolina had Ellington. Carolina had Ty Lawson.
That was the Hansborough National Player of the Year season too.
Correct. Like Carolina. So everyone, all those other number 1s were like, oh yeah, I see who you got.
Darren Collison.
Thank you. And then you look at Kansas, and to this day, you remember Chalmers because he hit the shot and he went on to be pretty good with the Heat. But the rest of that team, you're just kind of like, Bill Self had never done it before either. So it's kind of like, well, I mean, what do you expect? I think Houston's kind of in that spot. Like Auburn, you got Janai Broome. Florida, they made headlines earlier this season for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And I love how CBS has completely, tried to memory hole the Title IX investigation that had followed Todd Golden for the first 3 quarters of this season.
Sure.
And I know somebody's out there going, well, he was cleared. I would also remind you that Aaron Hernandez was on campus at Florida and never got in trouble from the university system either. So I'm not quite sure I'm trusting the Florida judicial system, if you will, the University of Florida judicial system. You can recuse yourself from that conversation, I know. Then, Florida's over there. And then there's Duke, of course, with Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel and Malwatch, who I hope the rest of the country is now figuring out is really kind of amazing and does not, you can't find too many players like that anymore.
Right.
And then I feel like Duke is really about 2 stars right now. We got 2 narratives. You got the Cooper Flagg narrative and the John Shire narrative.
Yeah. That started in this tournament, I think.
Yes. So it's year 3 for Shire, 37 years old. That's when Jim Valvano won his title. 3rd year, 37. Of course, it took Mike Krzyzewski just a little bit longer, but this does feel like Mike Krzyzewski's grand plan coming all together. And we're seeing now, John, I think I was super impressed the first year with John Shire in that he never made an effort to be Mike Krzyzewski.
Right.
Didn't throw the tantrums, didn't really work the referees the same way. I mean, they run some of the similar stuff, but he really went out of his way to do things his way. And I've always respected that about John. And I think you're seeing him come into the spotlight now. I'm seeing John Fanta saying, he's going to be a Hall of Famer and he's going to win multiple championships and all this other stuff. Okay. I mean, a lot of us around here have been saying that for a while, but the attention you see on Duke, the attention though on Houston, it's not there.
Right.
And that makes for a dangerous team.
I think that they have felt disrespect. They don't need this extra chip on their shoulder. Like the 54-51 final score in the Sweet 16 last year when the Big 12 Player of the Year point guard, your All-American point guard, Jamal Shed, sprains his ankle in the first half, and you still had that game on your terms, right? I mean, last year's Duke team, I mentioned this before we got started. Last year's Duke team, I went at the power ratings, would be a 10-point underdog on a neutral court to this year's Duke team. And the market might drive it up even beyond that. But
I'm glad you remembered that Duke and Houston played in last year's tournament.
Okay.
I need you to send out an internal memo because I saw this from Chris Walker, and I'm not trying to put you in an awkward position with your professional colleagues. I saw this clip and I thought to myself, well, he's got a point here. So let me play this from Chris Walker. Let's see. I struggle a little bit. Let's see. Nope, that's not the right button. Okay. He's going to talk about Houston. And at first, I want to agree with him, but we'll see where he goes off the rails.
Okay.
See Kansas across the chest, people get nervous. Yeah. They see Duke, they get nervous. Yeah. Right? Guess who they get nervous when they see now? Houston. And so now you're like, I know John Shire and those guys are going to watch film till their eyes fall out. But what they're not going to be able to duplicate, right, and replicate is what Houston brings to the table toughness-wise. That's a tough and together team as well. And they got a leader that's a fearless guy. These guys are running sprints. You mentioned they're doing it like a football team. Well, they play like a football team. So the question is if the refs are allowed to be a physical game where Duke just can't play with space, right? Forget about their rim protection. They still got to play against a team. They're junkyard dogs. They're Scott Street bullies. And this is going to be a great game to watch because you got the highest scoring team against a team that gives up the fewest. David versus Goliath. When you see Kansas across the chest, people get nervous.
So the only thing I have an issue with is he's acting, and that wasn't the one clip, but he expands more about like, they haven't seen anything like this in the ACC. And I'm like, they just played last year.
Right.
Like, I get it. Knippel wasn't on that team. Malwatch, Cooper. It's a different Duke group. I get that. But Proctor was there. Mm-hmm. Caleb Foster was there. I mean, there's some parts there. John Shire was there. The staff was there. So and they won the game with an inferior team. I hear what you're saying about Shed and the injury. And I remember going into that game thinking, we're fated to have 83 all over again. We're to get Houston and NC State because NC State was already waiting on the other side. And of course, Duke has to screw it up and beat Houston and in a down year, make the Elite Eight. Right. But I don't think Duke goes into this game like unaware of Houston. I over here going, well, I don't really, I have a template of what I think Houston is, but that's not who Duke is. Like Duke's got their head on a swivel about this. They're also not feared, like the toughness thing. This isn't like some soft Duke team. And I'll just remind you, Duke was crazy soft, super soft, one of the softest teams I've ever seen. And they beat Houston last year. To me, this is a classic NCAA tournament matchup and I really believe this is why Houston hasn't won it yet. You got to make shots to win.
Right. And
you got to make shots to win.
This is the best 3-point shooting team that Houston's had in the last 5 years. It's why internally at Houston,
they feel better.
They feel better about their chances because even before Jamal Shed, they've had other injuries that have sort of plagued tournament runs. And Juwan Roberts, their big man, does have a little bit of an ankle injury and something that should be watched. But this is my biggest issue with Chris Walker. And I would tell him, like, he was like, hey man, I heard you were talking about me. I was like, C-Walk, this was my biggest issue. You said, forget about the rim protection. And I cannot forget about the rim protection because 6'8", 6'8", 6'6". I just gave you the height of Houston's front court. And yeah, they are dogs and they overcome that size disadvantage. But this is a size advantage for the Duke Blue Devils that just is as much of a shock to the system as the Cougs cold shower when you come into the Fertitta Center. The fact that Mark Sears, point guard for Alabama, this is going to be, I'm not going out like this. He's getting ready to pull up for one of those patented Alabama threes. Oh, God, that's Kaman Malawach right in my face. Guarding you on the perimeter. The size, the length. There is going to be so much difficulty for Houston to score points in this basketball game unless they just go absolutely bananas from behind the arc. And while they are the best three-point shooting team of the last couple of years that Houston has had, they are not elite enough that I just think they're going to walk into San Antonio and just light the rims on fire, because that's also probably going to inspire a game that they don't want to play, which is going to be more possessions, which is going to be like testing Houston's depth, because once you start to go deeper onto Houston's bench, you've got some liabilities out there. And what John Shire showed in the Alabama game is the willingness to continue to go to the bench, to pull out some Caleb Foster, some Isaiah Evans, to bring bodies in, to just throw different looks. And John Shire's star rise. You know who is throwing gas on the fire that is getting those outsiders to start eating it up? One of their golden boys. Nate Oates came to the press conference after the game and just listed out. I mean, he's math teacher, basketball nerd, Mr. Analytics. He went through every single mid-game adjustment that he made, and then how John Shire had a counterpunch and an answer. Like talking about so then we started to go switching, and then they did this, and then they brought in so-and-so, and then we were tested by this, and then we did there is an aspect of this Duke coaching staff who has lost its defensive coordinator already off to Miami, Jay Lucas. They have been able to understand, and this is in part thanks to the roster construction with getting players who will accept their roles and understand fit, but they have found so many different ways to put the pieces of the puzzle together that make it very, very difficult to beat. So what Houston wants to do is probably play a game that is a little bit lower scoring, where both teams are finding it hard to be able to get easy looks. Maybe you hope that defense causes some bobbling. Duke had 13 turnovers against Alabama. Cooper Flagg had 4 of them. We were starting to see a little bit of those ball control issues that had been a narrative associated mostly with late game situations. That is what Houston's looking at the tape on. It's we got to get in there. We got to get handsy. But if it is a tight whistle to flip it to the other side of Seawalk's point, the depth, the size, there are so many advantages in Duke's favor right here. I respect Houston. You hear me talking about how incredible it is that a program that was dead when Kelvin Sampson took it over.
Yes.
To be able to be in this place where they have more NCAA tournament wins than anybody else over the last couple of years.
Their second Final Four in 5 years.
Yeah. They were there in 21. So, and they're always making it to the second weekend. I mean, it is wildly impressive. I happen to believe that there is the biggest issue for Houston is not an issue that is internal. I respect this team. It is the team that's on the other side.
Yeah, I think Duke's versatility is the real key here.
Yeah.
I mentioned this when they played Alabama. I thought Duke defensively was going to be a big problem for Alabama. Turns out they were. Now you flip the switch. Styles make fights.
Right.
You get down to Texas, and I think Duke's scoring becomes the biggest problem for Houston. Anytime we don't have any problems finding new places for our business because our friends at the Donnelly team at Keller Williams, triangleNCCommercial.com, 919-616-8681. Maybe you need a bigger boat for your business. Maybe you're looking around the office going, boss, we need more room. Give Brian a call, 919-616-8681. Speaking of phone calls, are you ready for this? Chip Patterson, big assist, point to the passer, Joe Ovius out in California is taking care of me.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
After the creation of the sports phone, I mentioned the melody as the thing that was getting me, but then Aaron Beard turned me on to the whistle. Once you hear the whistle, you will never unhear the whistle in the background of that.
I've literally had people stop me in parking lots and say, 919-444. The one guy was like, my wife hates you. And she was standing right there. I'm like, what did I do? She goes, "That's your jingle?" And I was, well, I mean, really, it was our guy from Nice Price came up with that. All credit to him. It's amazing, though. But look at this. You're not Joe Ovius. I'm not Joe Ovius. He sent me the voicemails.
And you played it.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Of course, OG Sports Phone is brought to you by Nature's Relief. We had an interesting basketball season this year between Carolina fans and State fans being very, very angry.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of venting going on the OG Sports Phone, and now there's a lot of chilling. Thanks to our friends at Nature's Relief. Go check them out. I prefer the one in Garner, Timber Drive. But
come on, next to the peddler.
I was going to say,
I'm an old Raleigh boy.
Something tells me you're out on Glenwood. Holly Ridge, I believe, is the technical location there. So here we are on the Sports Phone. Let's do this. No Ovius, but here we go.
Hey guys, it's Paul. Well, this tournament continues to not deliver. It followed up the most boring first and second round with the most boring Sweet 16 in the Elite Eight. I mean, Jesus. Three of the 4 Elite Eight games, not even like really that competitive. That's gross. Nobody likes that. Oh, and congratulations to Mr. March and the entire Big Ten Conference for yet again not winning a title since the year 2000. Going on 26 years. That's really impressive. But let's keep admitting half the league into the tournament every year. I'm sure law of averages says they have to win one at some time, right? Good Lord. Fuck this Final Four, man. Oh. Obviously, we have Duke. I'm not rooting for fucking Duke. We got Auburn and Florida. I'm not rooting for Bruce Pearl. And I'm certainly not rooting for any school from the state that's about to legalize child labor. So that leaves Florida. So Florida, you're out. That leaves Houston, who plays Virginia basketball, but are just less pretentious about it. So fuck this Final Four. I hope no one wins. I hope everyone loses. Thanks. We'll see you. We'll see you when hockey playoffs start, because I'm not watching this shit. Peace.
Curse or don't.
Curse
Or don't. It's always your option.
I posited yesterday on this program that Duke was actually kind of sort of lovable, to which I think Dimitri said, well, there's a difference between actually loving Duke and not hating them.
Yeah.
Which I think, that's probably the better way to put it. This is not a hateable Duke team.
I think that it is more the further you get from this hyperlocal standpoint, the more you will find that flip from not hate to love.
Yeah.
The more that you are getting a random sports fan, especially in a big city, who's trying to figure out who they're going to root for in college basketball. But I do have a quick response. Respectfully. Grow up. Okay? This is sports. I had this same thought and conversation around the college football playoff. Oh my God, we had all these blowouts. Like, what's wrong with the college football playoff? Well, when you are not watching a narrative-driven TV show and it is actual competition in sports, sometimes a team's going to get its ass beat, because that's what happens. And so I just feel like a lot of sports fans have been spoiled by being force-fed all of this content that they can get that always has nice resolutions and turning points. And they are hoping that the greatest storybook of them all, sports, is always going to deliver. And they ignore year after year after year when the Super Bowl was a blowout. Or they ignore
that was my whole childhood.
Like, they ignore all of the different years that NCAA tournaments don't have a St. Peter's or an Oral Roberts, and they expect that they are going to be given the purest distillation of everything awesome that happened in 10 years every single time it tees up. So grow up. Sometimes good teams win. Why don't you instead appreciate that rather than expecting that you're going to get everything on your bingo card for an NCAA tournament?
Housekeeping.
The perfect transition to housekeeping. Housekeeping brought to you by Inovana. If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it green clean with Inovana.
Are they going out to the house while he's in LA?
They got to be.
They're
They're there every day.
That's one of my favorite oldest OG running bits was they're coming out to the house today.
Oh, it's not a bit. It's not a bit. Inovana, we appreciate them taking care of us. The OG birthday. We're going to celebrate our second birthday on May 1st. You're going to be in Garner. You have some time for us. It's a Thursday, 6:00. I know there's youths involved.
Yeah,
but we'll have some drinks. There'll be a food truck out there. We'll take care of our people. We'll have a great raffle. There's a Tyreek Hill jersey maybe that you'd want.
Ooh.
Oh, and I didn't bring it in. Last week we hooked up one of our OG listeners with a new hockey jersey because he had bought a Miko Rantanen jersey.
Oh, and you did the swap.
We did a swap, right? So we got him a Seth Jarvis jersey. So while we were over there, we collect this Miko Rantanen jersey. So this weekend I end up going over to the red and white shop. Enjoy the red and white shop. I was looking for some NC State baseball stuff. And he goes, well, I don't really do NIL stuff anymore. And he starts listing to me all of the players that he had been, kind of backing. It's like, well, I got all this Kevin Concepcion and stuff. Tommy White, I could sell you a Tommy White shirt. And then he goes, I still have MJ Morris jerseys. I'm selling them for $10. I was like, I did not come here for an MJ Morris jersey, but I am walking out of here. So once OVS gets back, we have the Rantanen jersey and the MJ Morris jersey for our wall of fame, our wall of shame, our jersey wall of shame.
And this will be Thursday, May 1st at 6 p.m.
Oh yeah, getting back to the original story.
Shady's.
Yes, our birthday, Shady's, downtown Garner. It starts at 6. We'll be live. Probably we'll do the show live from there potentially, and just stay there and hang out there, and it'll be a grand time. We'll have a raffle. We'll have all kinds of food, drinks. All the prices good. So Thursday, 6:00, Shady's. Chip, what do you have going on while I find our new merch to show to the world?
Well, it's I was just gonna say happy birthday month. I know that you've been dreading your birthday for a while, but it's April 1, and we're I mean I'm 23rd, so we're close to each other. Yeah,
birth month then. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Let's celebrate here. We got OG birthday coming up in a little bit. We got a little as Leanne says, Joe G. We got a little Joe G birthday coming up. It's a festive time here for OG Triangle Media.
All right, look at this puppy. Look at this beauty. Joe Ovius has outdone himself. This is our new shirts on Breaking Tea, the Ovius and Giglio Golf Classic 2023 from our first year. 5 stars only. That is obviously a homage to the Greater Greensboro Open. I believe that was the logo from 1985.
Sick.
Yes, it's fantastic. You can get it as a shirt. You can get it as a hoodie, youth shirt. What else we got? We got all kinds of things. There's the hoodie. I mean, come on now. Breaking Tea. So go to Breaking Tea, just the letter T.com. Search for Ovius and Giglio. There is a link here on the bottom of this podcast. We appreciate you guys for supporting us. That is not in a vault. That's for all time. If you got a chance to make that one work, go check them out. BreakingT.com. All right. It is April 1st. The Roosters are open. Are you excited, Chip Patterson? Because you know what it means.
New flavors.
New month equals new flavors. Let's go to the phone. We've got a text from Jared, the maestro, the man himself. I really don't know how he comes up with these things on a monthly basis. It's just like, did Puffy say I keep coming up with hits like every single day? I can't quote him anymore, right?
No.
I can't. That was him though, right?
No, I don't think it was.
Okay,
him.
Whew,
Yeah,
good.
You're good.
Chocolate and cookie dough. This is the Professional Athletes Month. These are flavors created by professional athletes. Casey Murphy of the Courage. Here's the one I think is going to be the winner. It's not going to go on we can't put it on Mount Rushmore yet, but tell me this doesn't sound like it has a lot of potential. This is from Denise O'Sullivan from the Courage. Chocolate chip carrot cake. A vanilla base with carrot cake pieces, chocolate chips, and cream cheese icing ripple.
Yep.
Jared, I don't know how you do it. You are a wizard, sir.
That's gonna be a winner with certain 4-year-old. And me too.
50-year-olds.
That's last time I was there, I saw Ovius and Kelly. Like it is a great spot. And you know what we're
the home base.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to call it that because Hayes says that's his home base.
Well,
I can only claim Lake Boone, he said.
The pro move right now is if you can go over to Standard and hold down like a picnic table, and you've got both parents, then one takes the kids over to get ice cream, bring it back, gives you like extends the visit to Person Street a little bit longer.
Smart move, man. Smart move. Also, if you get a speeding ticket, check out our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. We'll be at Shady's downtown Garner. That is Josh Whitaker's spot, but his day job is Whitaker and Hamer, WH.lawyer, for all of your legal needs. And of course, Breeze Through is there for you wherever you are. And if you're going to a game, Carolina, guess what? It's over there. Going to a concert downtown or Walnut Creek, right there. Going over to the Lenovo Center, boom, right there. Our friends from Breeze Through, always there for you. So check them out, breezethrough.com. All right, Chip Patterson, let's step into your wheelhouse, because when I originally had asked you about can you make this thing work, I was like, all right, you got something going on for the Final Four. You're going up to...
I'll be in Stamford, Connecticut. I'll be in studio.
Okay.
For Final Four coverage on Saturday and Monday.
But you're like leaving tomorrow.
No, we just have the Cover 3 podcast on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. You got a lot going on, is my point.
We got a lot to get to.
And we do have a lot to get to. Because when you said, oh, I could do it, I was like, oh, this means we could talk about futures bets on this program, and specifically college football. Now, last year, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't feel great about my Penn State ticket when they were struggling with USC and doing some other things and losing at home to Ohio State. But I sure as shit was excited when they were in the Final Four, and I had that ticket from the beginning of the year, and I was like, ooh, this could be juicy. This could be juicy.
Well, and you probably got excited when you saw their draw. When you saw that they were going to be down at the bottom of the bracket, they get SMU, who snuck in. Then they like Florida State died so SMU could get in.
Yes.
You know, like they owed the ACC one. And then they're going to play into Boise State after that. And it's like, okay, so Boise State's a one-trick pony with Ashton Genty. What does Penn State have? One of the best defensive fronts in the whole country. Okay, I think we're going to be all right here. And then I don't know what your positions were or if you made additional investments, but like
I grabbed Ohio State after they hammer-cocked somebody. Tennessee.
Yes.
I thought they could lose that game.
Well, they hammer-cocked both Tennessee and then they put it in Oregon's ear. The game was done in 3 possessions.
Yes.
I think, they had the Notre Dame game until Drew Aller just loses his mind, throws it across his body, bad interception over in the middle of the field, sets up the game-winning. Like, Penn State should be playing for the national championship based on the quality of that performance in the semifinal.
Totally agree. You mentioned this before, though, with our chalky Final Four, and it's harder to find value in college sports because college sports have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And this format, I said if Saban was still alive in this format, I would never bet against Saban. I would just take him every year.
Let's go historical. I said if the 4-team playoff had been around, Bobby Bowden would have 2 or 3 more national championships, because they always had one game that they would dick around and mess up. They'd miss a field goal wide left or right and then end up blowing a chance at playing for it all in the old system. In this modern system, those Florida State teams, or to your point, Nick Saban's Alabama teams, you just create more opportunities for the talent difference to show up. And I think that while there are more teams in the top tier now, like Georgia is not as good as Georgia would have been in the old system. There is no team that's going to reach those Alabama levels. Now there's 6 or 7 teams in the top tier where there might have been 2 or 3 because of the way that talent has dispersed among the very, very, very elite talents. But the idea that someone's going to sneak up and win 3 games in a row or 4 games against other best teams in the country while having any kind of weaknesses in those matchups seems very, very unlikely.
And so here's the thing, too, to remember about these futures. And even if you want to invest in an Ohio State, who is your preseason favorite right now, right? They play Texas in the opener.
Right.
So if they beat, right now, Ohio State is plus 600. I'm not saying like right now, take Ohio State. I have no idea. You can tell me who their quarterback is, but like, I got no idea. I can assume they're going to be pretty good, but they have a new offensive coordinator, right? They even have a new defensive coordinator.
Bro, this is the thing that makes this year probably more interesting for this conversation than a lot would realize is you mentioned Ohio State being the favorite at plus 600. those are long odds for
As a preseason favorite.
a preseason favorite, because the odds makers have no idea what to do with these teams at the top. Ohio State at 600, Texas at 650, Oregon at 650, Georgia at 700, Penn State at 8. They are telling you that all of those teams, any one of them, they feel like could win. Because people saw Ohio State was named the preseason favorite and they lost their minds because they're losing 15 starters. They're losing the entire defense. They lost their defensive coordinator to Penn State. Penn State came and poached Ohio State's DC. Chip Kelly is off. Now they got to bring in a new offensive coordinator, replace almost everybody, but they still have Jeremiah Smith, who Ryan Wilson, Ryan Wilson? Yeah. Ryan Wilson said Jeremiah Smith would be the number 1 pick in this NFL draft if he came out in this NFL draft. Their quarterback is a guy named Julian Sayin, who a lot of people like. He's not super big, but he spins it, and everybody thinks, hey, you know what? Maybe the 5-star who initially signed with Alabama and transferred to Ohio State when Saban retired is going to be okay. I think that this is an Ohio State team that has a lot of question marks, but you go down this entire list of favorites, you've got question marks for every single one of them.
So I would say this then, as a value play, value. We're using air quotes here. Understanding this, let's go Texas. We know Arch Manning. We know Sarkisian. We know they're going to be really good on offense, right?
And built up on the lines of scrimmage.
Okay. If they beat Ohio, so their number right now is plus 650.
Right.
Okay. If they go and beat Ohio State on the road in the first game of the season, their number is going down to no less than 200.
Right.
So there's the value in taking Texas. It's almost like you got to take them now, right? I would almost say, don't take Ohio State. Let them lose to Texas. Get a better number, because they probably will, given this format. They'll still make the playoff, and they might do what they did this year and play their best football by the end of the year.
I think Ohio State's going to be that team, and it's going to drive people crazy.
Yeah. It'll be like, whoo, we got rid of Ohio State. They lost in the opener. It'll be one of the Florida State lost.
No, this is an Ohio State program that is going to make part of its identity being great in the playoff, where they are just constantly going to be building towards being at their best in games number 14, 15, and 16.
Is there someone further down the list? I have one that I like further down the list that you see as a potential value play.
I think that
this is to win the national championship.
This is to win the national championship. I think that if you wanted to buy low on Kalen DeBoer in Alabama, it might not be a bad idea.
16 right now.
The talent level, they are firmly in that tier below the top dogs. They have a lot of other characters they got to get through to be able to wind up even having a seat at the table. They are replacing Jalen Milroe, but that might not be a bad thing. It might be time for Kalen DeBoer, who had Michael Penix running hot, who probably needs to get his own guy in there. And he's got a guy named Austin Mack, 6'6", 220, recruited him to Washington, followed him to Alabama. They've got, remember Ryan Williams, the wide receiver? Electric wide receiver. The wide receiver talent at Alabama is pretty good. Nobody would ever compare Washington to Alabama, but if we're just talking about the way the roster is built, you could have a Washington-like season and be able to go on a run here. Alabama at 16-1 is one that has my eye.
Now, I should not encourage this, but I'm going to anyway. There's 2 SEC teams, and I promise you I would have sat here and said the same thing last year about Missouri and Ole Miss. So I just take it for what it's worth.
All right.
Right? Like, if you're in the SEC from the upper middle pack, you got your work cut out for you, because you're not Alabama, you're not Georgia. And almost assuredly, you're going to have to go through them.
And you're not Texas. That's the other thing. We got to rewire our brain to remember that you're dealing with Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Oh yeah, and are you gonna give me Nico Iamaleava? You gonna go the Vols?
I do like the Vols. 16 though isn't quite enough for that little.
Yeah.
Make me feel a little tingle on the scratcher. I like Mike Elko. 30-1. That's a good number. I like their good young quarterback. He really came on at the end of last year. I think Mike's a tremendous X&O coach. Tremendous. Without knowing anything about their schedule, it must be difficult for them to be 30-1.
Well, here's the Ole Miss and Texas A&M should not only be flip-flopped, but Ole Miss should be lower.
Yeah.
Because they went all in last year.
Yes.
They are losing a ton off that team. Their defense was nasty. They've got to reload that. Here's what I like about Texas A&M, and that is a great shout. Marcel Reed, the opinions I was hearing from people who were coaching against Marcel Reed was that he wasn't seeing it. And that's something you can coach. That's something that you can improve on. Now, if he can't throw or if he can't move, you can't. That's what God gave you, my friend. I'm so sorry about that.
Can't coach that up.
But if Marcel Reed and they got Colin Klein, remember the old K-State quarterback as their offensive coordinator?
Okay.
So if you start to like be able to get him to progress from being a flashy young talent to being someone who can really pick apart a defense, they went hard on pass catchers in the transfer portal, bringing in a bunch of players. You just know Mike Elko is not going to have a crappy defense. So I like Texas A&M. I would take Texas A&M ahead of Ole Miss because of everything Ole Miss lost.
$50 bet gets you $1,500 return.
I would maybe take Texas A&M ahead of LSU.
And no, we're not betting on Brian Kelly.
And just because I think Brian Kelly might combust or even get fired. And then the Tennessee one is interesting because well,
hold on to Tennessee for 1 second.
Okay.
Because I have a better Tennessee bet, I think. I can already hear it. You can't quite see him up there, Colton Tudor. One of my favorite moments with two, we used to pick the bracket together, okay, for the News and Observer. We literally picked all 65 games, okay, back in the day. 63 games, excuse me. And we it was a project, and it was also like this race to beat deadline and all this other stuff. And I remember one time was when it was the birth of Steph Curry and the phenomenon of Steph Curry.
08.
And they're in Raleigh. And I loved that Gonzaga team. Austin Day. I loved that Gonzaga team. And I said, Toot, I'm telling you, Georgetown loses every year. I said, this thing's going to open up. They're going to beat them. They're going to go to the Final Four. He goes, I can't go home if I put my name on this bracket with Gonzaga in the Final Four. I'm like, right. I go, the first game is going to be really tough. They're playing Davidson. They're here in Raleigh. I said, but watch. You'll see. He to this, as long as Toot was alive, he would remind me of that night. I can't do that. We can't do that, right? Right now, I'm laughing because the other team I want to take is one of his favorites, the Chickens, South Carolina. There's just too much value there, man. 40-1, and I realize South Carolina is never going to win the national championship. I do realize that. 40-1 on that team.
So here is the dirty secret on South Carolina, and Cox fans, I know this is not what you want to hear. You want to hear people talking about Lenoris Sellers, your quarterback who is awesome.
A tank.
You want to look at building on last year's 9-win season and how even in the losses, South Carolina, outside of one when they were banged up, was like competitive against anybody. There wasn't a single game where they looked outclassed. But here's a statistic that I value more than a lot of people. How many players did you have invited to the NFL Draft Scouting Combine? Because when Georgia has a ton of players to the NFL Draft Scouting Combine, no big deal.
That's a day that ends
when
in live.
Alabama or Ohio State have a lot of players invested. But when I'm going down the list of who has the most players invited to the Scouting Combine, and South Carolina has like 11, maybe 4th or 5th among all college football programs, I think there's a drop-off in talent. I think that it is unlikely that the player development at this point in the operation is to the point where the players who are responsible for this awesome 9-win season might still be around after having like 11 players invited to the NFL Draft Scouting Combine. By the way, when you were talking, I feel like my hair stood on end when you were doing the shout out to Tudor with the bracket whispers.
Yeah.
The games of old,
Yes.
The ghosts, they come from the bracket. So the Cover 3 podcast has a little bit of a war against South Carolina fans because Bud Elliott continues to needle them and just like push their button over and over again, and they only get angrier. And then are like the tut compliment is like, listen, best fan base in the SEC. Okay, you guys show up all the time, wins, lose,
nothing.
like you like this is the best fan base in the SEC. But I'm not gonna encourage a South Carolina national championship ticket.
How about this then?
Okay.
Conference value.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we can go back to Tennessee. Tennessee's plus 750 to win the SEC. I do like that number.
I mean, to be able to, so Tennessee, the SEC did the laziest thing this year. Okay. So think about who
Not
played
the SEC.
think about who played the toughest schedules this year.
Mhm.
Okay, it's going to be the same.
Georgia played the toughest one last year,
They
which I don't even think is possible because they're Georgia, but they really did.
the SEC's not even rotating it.
Oh, they're not
All the teams you played last year, you're playing this
running
year.
it back.
Just flipped the sites.
Oh, so Texas A&M could be some good value then because they did have it.
And Tennessee could be some good value
Okay.
because Tennessee
Gets Georgia here
Yeah.
in Knoxville.
and they might not lose to Oklahoma, and
Mhm.
they've got as much of a puncher's chance as anybody to be able to hang with Alabama. So
Plus 750. I like that number.
Plus-
to win the SEC now.
plus 750 to win the SEC.
He's a really good coach too.
When the SEC is going to be decided by 14 tiebreakers that we've got to go on like a GeoSites,
Yeah.
website to be able to run the simulations and figure out. I think Tennessee at plus 750 could get you to
Okay,
Atlanta.
you're
Yeah.
signing off on that
Signing
one.
off on
Not
that.
South,
Not
got
South
it. I got
Carolina.
it. Hey,
Yeah.
This is why we have you on the show. This is
Right.
why we talk about it. I got one more for you,
All right.
and I know you already disagree with it, but I love it. To win the ACC, Florida State's plus 1,700. Florida State plus 1,700 preseason to win the ACC. I'm taking a piece of that. You can't talk me out of taking a piece
That's
of that.
fine. That's fine. You can definitely do that because Thomas Castellanos.
Hey man, he's a baller.
How many times do we see a quarterback light you up and then
Go play for you.
go play for you? Miller Moss at Louisville lit up Louisville for 6 touchdowns in the Holiday Bowl a couple years ago. And Jeff Brom's like, oh, I got that guy. That guy's going to be mine. And sure enough, we've got a little bit of the same thing here. You will remember Thomas Castellanos actually gave that 2013 Florida State team hell in a September game. Florida State goes up to Boston College, maybe week 3
the
or
unbeaten
week
one.
4.
You said 13. Yes,
Not
I got
13.
you.
Yeah, 23.
I was like, damn, I know that guys are in college a long time.
And so Thomas Castellanos, yeah, sure, come on down. But
Yeah.
there's still
17 is good value though, man. Come on.
Well, do you know what Florida State's win total is?
I do not. I can look at
7.5.
Oh, maybe that's the more sensible bet then.
If you want to get some, if you want to jump in on that. So it drove me crazy. I was in Fort Lauderdale in our studios all during conference tournament week. I was doing live streams, college basketball all day. And then at night, I would have to go back to my hotel room to put together what ended up being 3,600 words on ACC win totals. Like,
wow.
Go through, like, break down every single spring practice storyline and schedule breakdown. And when I was going through this, I said, damn, there are only 4 teams in the whole conference with a win total higher than 7.5.
I usually like to save the comments for later, but NC State moderator, yeah, he when he grabbed Notre Dame this year, similar to how I felt when Notre Dame lost to NIU this past season. Yeah, I mean, like, these bigger teams can lose early and be written off like Notre Dame was. No, Notre Dame had to figure that thing out.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but NC State moderator is right. There is some value there. Bubba, there isn't enough coffee to shake off the haze from these morning podcasts, but Chip's energy is infectious. Hey, I'm not doing it on purpose, Bubba. It's just how I know to post it correctly to the YouTube page at the least amount of the video file has to do all your computer hums and spits and does all this stuff. If you set it up the way I have it set up on StreamYard, it just goes right to our YouTube page. So that's why I've been doing it this way.
Oh,
this week.
you've been going live.
Yeah, we're actually live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that we can.
Yeah, it's just the way that I have to do it to set it up. Obviously, I know we'll be yelling at me. Might as well hit a few of these while we're here. Chip Cover 3 is the best college football podcast, hands down. Absolutely.
Thank you, Steven.
Not even close. And then again, the moderator chipping here with strict stepdad.
Well, that
right.
must have been after grow up.
Yeah. So you're not signing off on my Florida State
No.
plus 1,700 to win the ACC. That's kind of stupid. Come on.
Okay. You honestly, I take that back. Picking Florida State to win the ACC at 17-1 is a better bet than their win total because they opened the season against Alabama and they closed it against Florida. Yeah. Okay. I can go with that.
I'm glad you're here with me because, I need your help. Speaking of help, Gordon Miller, Miller Lending, millerlending.com/theog. Give him a call, 919-447-3377. Austin Herbert, the carry legend, carry high till I die. He's going to help you. You need to refi, a little cash out refi. Let's get rid of this credit card debt. We don't need it in 2025. I took care of my taxes, and now it's time to take care of my credit card debt. Best thing to do. Go to millerlending.com/theog, 919-447-3377. All right, so you're gonna close. You got a house. You got all this stuff, and you're like, man, car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, pet insurance.
I know somebody who can help.
I do. Matt Davis. And you can call him. 919-779-8277. Matt Davis. That's insuregarner.com. We do have a winner for the April 13th Canes tickets. So congratulations to Matt. He'll be going to see the game. Thanks to Matt, but a different Matt. Listener Matt, not the Matt. But all those insurance needs. insuregarner.com. Matt Davis again. Give him a call. 919-779-8277. On the wheel of ads, where do we go? Hometown Realty. Gonna buy a house. Don't mess around. But I can do this on my own. I'm gonna sell your house. No, man, I'm gonna save that 3%. Stop. Please, just stop. myhtr.com. Hometown Realty. Here to the coast. You know how good you have to be to have more than 300 agents? This is not like, let me go check the guy in the back of the convenience store. Let me go get my Netflix real estate license. This is Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. Buy and sell with confidence. All right, Chip, this one's for you. It's actually going to be your payment for the day. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. It's not a hockey break, but it's a happy and hail break. And let it be said, we're a true triangle sports leader because only a true triangle sports leader.
Do I get a black card? Are you kidding me?
That is your payment for today's work.
Wow.
Yes.
Tell Tyler to get ready. Somebody's coming for a Med Bowl. Med Bowl and an Almond Brothers coming right up. Now I have to go in to get this.
You have to go in.
Okay, all right.
So you use your card and your Caleb Love for life discount. Happy and Hail. Go check them out. North Hills, Six Forks Station, Durham. Use our promo code OG25 on the app. You'll save 25% on your first order. Your birthday is April 23rd. That means this month you get a free bowl.
I know.
For signing up and being on the app at Happy and Hail. When you sign up, you also get a free smoothie. Makes all the sense in the world. Happy plus Hail on your app store. Use our promo code OG25. You'll save 25% on your initial order. Take a screen grab. Email it to me, giglio.joe@gmail.com.
I know marketing works because I can honestly say my Happy and Hail visits have increased 50% because I'll be sitting listening. I go big. I'm an audio listener. Big on the walks, and I'll be out there on the walk. I'm taking care of myself. I'm making good decisions. I'm listening to the OG, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep making good decisions. Let's let one good decision go into another. Pull out the app, order it on Happy on Hail. Now I'm going in.
Now you're going in.
Now I'm going in.
You got the black card. You can get your own black card. Take that screen grab, send it to me, giglio.joe@gmail.com, and you can win and join Chip as a member of the for life for our friends at Happy and Hail. We appreciate them for being a corporate champion here at the OG. It's almost time, Chip. I hope that you're ready. It's Tuesday. If you were downtown today, you should head over to Sam Jones. Sam Jones is the official sponsor of the Lightning Round. Sam Jones Barbecue over there on Lenore. There's always parking on Lenore. So go over there, hit them up, check them out. Great food. Actually got a text this morning. Let's see what they sent me. And this is not like advertising. This is they send you this. Okay. Hey, thanks for being our customer. Here's a 10% off coupon. Redeem. Boom. On your way.
Let's go.
That's what they do, man. I'm telling you. They're the one from last week. It's lottery time. You could pull a free barbecue or pulled pork, free barbecue or pulled chicken sandwich. Reply with a number between 1 and 100. Try your luck. you know.
Whoa. Hold on. Are they running numbers?
I'm telling you, they got all kinds of contests here to take care of yourself. Say, here's a coupon for $5 off of any purchase, $30 or more. Redeem. Boom.
This sounds like something I'd be involved in.
It kind of sort of does. But
do you know what we need to do for our barbecue joint? Start running numbers.
They have great stuff over at Sam Jones Barbecue in downtown and, of course, in Whiteville. So go check them out, Sam Jones. We appreciate you, but it's not a lightning round until we see Zeus in the bra.
It's the lightning round. The lightning round.
All right, Chip, let's start with a topic that Joe will never let me do on the lightning round. The Dodgers won last night. They're now 6-0 on the season. They beat the Braves 6-1. Will the Dodgers ever lose?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
But you literally have to think about it for a second because they're 6-0. Do you know the major league record for wins to start a season is 13? That was matched by it's been done a number of times. The Rays did it in 23, actually. Do you know who holds the all-time baseball record, though? The St. Louis Maroons. What a maroon. Went 20-0 to start the 1884.
Whoa.
I think it was the National League season, if you will.
Hey, anytime we've got Reconstruction era references.
Maroon.
Oh.
It's 20-0 in play for these Dodgers. Speaking of war machines, as people get upset, we'll get into that call in a little bit. It's only 6 games, Chip, but they're a fucking war machine.
And
damn. I mean,
so I'll throw this one on there. Last night it was Glasnow pitching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a little bit banged up, right? Now all of a sudden he's had a full. Somebody made the argument that we are set for one of the best Tyler Glasnow seasons because he's part of such a deep rotation. They're not going to be forced to use him as much. He's not going to get overused, which means when he comes in there, he is just going to be absolutely dealing. Let's see what we have last night. 8 Ks. That's an over if you had 6.5 to the over last night on strikeouts. 5 innings pitched, just 2 hits, no earned runs. All that is made of how many players can hit the absolute dog shit out of the ball on this Dodgers team. The pitching staff is pretty terrifying as well.
I was going to say that they won the World Series last year without an ace.
No.
And this year, they've effectively added 4.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
4. Depending on your definition of Blake Snell, who I do think is very good. Glasnow, Snell.
You send Snell to
Yamamoto. Yeah. And then, who's the other one? Oh, yeah. Ohtani's going to pitch by the postseason. So it's like, it's really not fair. I'm embarrassed. I didn't grab it until the first game, but the major league record for wins in a season is 116. The Cubs did it in 1906 and the Mariners did it in 2001. I grabbed the Dodgers at plus 750 to set a major league record for wins.
Ooh.
It should not be that low. Like, that's a ridiculous number if you think about it. It's already down to plus 500 on FanDuel. Like, honestly, this is one where you wait for them to have that little 4 or 5 game losing streak, and then you grab it.
Up, yeah.
Then you grab it. I'm the idiot over here. They're 1-0.
You saw him play in Japan, and you're like, all right, I've seen enough right here. But I don't know if they don't flirt with the record, then there has been catastrophic, unforeseen injury luck.
And even then, they'll plow through it.
Right.
You just get that feeling. All right, so your black executive card gets you 20% off for life. That's a pretty good deal from our friends at Happy and Hale.
Oh, yeah.
It's not quite the deal, though, that Coastal Carolina football has cooked up for its fans for the 2025 season. Chip, I know you're aware of this, but some of our listeners may not be. So here we go. Got a hit play.
What's up, boss? Hey, how's it going? Good. What's the damage? Free. Well, what about for this? Free as well? Free. All of it free. You want some nachos? Yeah, free too. All free. All free. Free. Can I get 50 of these? Yeah, free. Free. What about a drink? All of it. Free. Have 2 drinks. And a hot dog. Yeah. Hot dogs free too. All free. There you go. Free. Free. Sweet.
That's right, Teal Nation. This fall in Brooks Stadium, every fan, every game, always free. Free concessions, popcorn, nachos, hot dog, fountain drinks, and water for every fan this fall. Come out to Brooks Stadium, get your tickets now, and cheer on the Shots. Go Shots.
Are you kidding? What a deal, man. You can get 4 items per concession visit. Hot dogs, nachos, popcorn, and fountain drinks. There's no limit on the number of in-game visits.
Correct.
What is going on down in Conway?
I think, first of all, we got to remember the local tie here, right?
No, and help me out. Tell me.
Weren't we in a situation over this past season where Tim Beck was on the hot seat, but Coastal won a game or 2 late?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, you know where he still is? Under pressure.
Oh,
we are trying to turn that teal field
okay.
into like a home field advantage.
I hear you now.
We are trying to do what we can to drive and power a lot of fan involvement, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, this is a calculated decision that what we are going to gain, both in terms of ticket sales and the overall boost for this football program, is going to be worth giving away free nachos, hot dogs, and fountain drinks. I would recommend get the nachos and the hot dogs on the early side of the game. You know, you go get the late. I mean, they give those things away for free when you walk out of some events around here at the end of the game. But this is a season, and I know that Sun Belt, the inner workings of the mid-tier of the Sun Belt are not going to resonate, but this is a season where Coastal would like to be able to be, not just, because 6-6 in the Sun Belt doesn't necessarily get you to a bowl game.
Right.
This is a season where Coastal would like to be able to, in a very competitive Sun Belt East division, make sure that they are not just going to get buried as App State's making a coaching change. As you've continually got, James Madison trying to maintain what it was able to do under Sig. This is it's not a desperation move, but it is certainly we're doing what we can to pack the place out. I also thought about semi-pro. You remember the corn dogs?
Yes.
Corn dogs, Jackie, for everybody. Like, what happens? I think Brooksfield in my mind, I haven't looked it up, but Brooksfield in my mind is like a 30K, right?
Yeah.
Like a 30,000. What happens if this place is packed? The lines for the concessions are wrapped around and all of a sudden someone said, "Oh no, what have I done?" I don't know if that'll happen. I hope that they're prepared. That's the risk they're willing to take. Tim Beck looking for a good season with Coastal Carolina as he's 14-12 overall heading into year 3.
It might have gotten lost in all of the NC State coaching search reporting that I was doing during the ACC tournament. But one other item that Joe Ovius and I had talked about was that, and we didn't get a chance to talk to Jim Phillips. We're still hoping to get that done. I had been told by three different sources, including 2 coaches, that Jim Phillips told the schools, the ADs, you will use the revenue sharing next year. You will invest in your men's basketball programs. The number I was told was $5 million. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll see if every school does that. Now, the initial thought on that is the SEC just had this season that they did. And I was told the NIL basement for all SEC teams was $3 million.
Right.
Okay. So now you're looking at that going, all right, how did the SEC get there? Yes, they have excellent coaches.
And that basement is like what South Carolina and LSU
right.
are paying to finish
right.
2-18 in conference play.
Correct. Yeah. So, but there's a clear line between investing and success. And I think Jim Phillips sees that, according to the people who told me, and they had no reason to tell me that it wasn't true. And the very first person I told this to said, well, we'll see what Boston College does. Well, yes, we will see what Boston College does. I saw BC here in Raleigh during the season, and State did beat them. But Donald Hand is a baller. Donald Hand Jr. is a really good player. And yesterday, they actually put out a video. I pulled up the wrong tweet, but this is Donald Hand. He's coming back. There's only one way Donald Hand's going back to Boston College, and that's because they're going to pay him and they're going to use that revenue sharing. So this feels like a win for Jim Phillips to me. Yes, I know where NC State is now in their investment. They've talked about, $4 million in revenue sharing and using, up to $6 million total for their budget next year. And obviously the commitment they've made to Will Wade and his coaching staff, and Andrew Slater as their general manager. We all know those things. But in my opinion, the ACC only works if all of these schools start really understanding the game and what they have to do in order to be competitive going forward.
Retaining talent is the way that money should be spent. If all these schools are about to, if all these schools are about to get a lot of money, you should look to retain, develop, keep those players around, because that is the market. Like, that is how you avoid having to run the risk on a portal hit not working out. That is how you are able to at least maintain some continuity when things seem to be so fluid every single year. And don't we have some Donald Hand, like emotional reasons? Yeah. Okay. But I think that this is this is a good sign for Boston College and for the ACC in general, because the ACC is not just thinking about the SEC. The ACC, especially at a place like Boston College, they've got to think about the Big East. Yeah. They've got to think about the A-10. They've got to
Which doesn't have football, so they're in a better position right now to have more investment in their programs because of revenue sharing.
They have said that we are making men's basketball as big a priority at our school as football is going to be at those other schools, and we are going to try to use that to be able to find an advantage in the basketball world. So for Boston College, firmly in the Big East footprint, former Big East member, firmly battling for, recruits against some of those other schools. I think that's a good sign to see that they're investing in that. Maybe a little tough for Bill O'Brien, if all this, because I don't know. We got a lot of time. I don't know if we have a lot of time. We got a lot to get into, but how many of these ACC schools do you think are going to take that message and then also not punt on football, but start to make some decisions along the way?
Look at NC State. Look where they are. Look, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Carolina. Speaking of Carolina.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
Shouts to everyone who sent me the tweet from the guy who covers Auburn that said Nate Oates is interested in the Maryland job in men's basketball. My pet theory, Hubert Davis is going to coach this year, then get fired, and then Carolina is going to hire Nate Oates, because if something good can happen for Carolina, it will. So, and we'll get into that dynamic here in a second. But, a lot of people, I had 3 different people send me this tweet about Nate Oates. And I was like, now Nate Oates told Kentucky in so many words to fuck off last year. I don't think he's going to take checks notes, the Maryland job. Mm-hmm. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Nate Oates is in line to be Carolina's next coach. He's in line to be Kansas's next coach. Right. Like, this is not a guy that needs to go slum it in College Park.
Right.
Okay. So that didn't make any sense to me. It also didn't make any sense to Alabama AD Greg Byrne. Greg Byrne was on with was Will Kane yesterday.
What?
Yeah. Greg Byrne was on with Will Kane yesterday.
So
and
Greg Byrne went on Fox News just to
said,
talk about tariffs.
I can absolutely tell you there's no truth to the report that Nate Oates is interested in the Maryland job. So we can put that one to rest. But I did get a little tingle because I was like, see, some of the cracks are coming through on this whole Nate Oates. Like, at some point, you got to want to be the man. At some point. You'll never be the man in Alabama.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that guy's ego is obviously big enough that, it's one thing to tell Kentucky to fuck off. It's another if Kansas or Carolina come calling. You got to stop and pause and be like,
listen, Nate Oates' desire to win is so much so that he can look past unfiled gun charges for his best player.
Karma caught up to Alabama.
It was not gun charges. Hornets fans, it was. We don't need to relitigate that. But
he didn't handle that situation well.
He did not handle that situation.
I mean, as I referenced Florida before with this Todd Golden Title IX thing, like, we'll see.
Maryland might be this is the dynamic that I found fascinating. When Kevin Willard, it is on the record at NCAA tournament media availability on the podium talking about how his program doesn't get the amount of money and resources that he wants. He's not talking specifically about NIL.
Right.
He is preparing to fight the war of revenue sharing, knowing that football is going to win that argument. Because the message that you just talked about from the ACC meetings is the opposite
in the Big Ten
of the message that's been spread at the Big Ten.
Totally agree.
Somebody went to Indiana and said, when the next culling comes for college sports, when the next consolidation comes for college sports,
guess what?
Your little titles from Mr. Red Sweater aren't going to mean shit. You need to be able to have a football program that is more than something you do. It is a football program that can be part of this university's identity and our conference's identity. And so who came out with a response but Mike Locksley? And Mike Locksley's like, well, I wish he wouldn't air our family's dirty laundry, because Mike Locksley has the upper hand. He's the football coach. He's got the leverage here, knowing that he's going to get the resources. He's going to get the rev share. And sure enough, what do we see? Kevin Willard goes running to the Big East, where he is not. I mean, sure, I got yelled.
A better job.
I got yelled at yesterday about Villanova does have a football program. Like, yeah, but, sure, I understand. And they're very good at the FCS level, or were at one point, but they are not dealing with a resource battle. No. The way that he was going to be dealing with at Maryland. Mr. Seton Hall goes running back to the Big East. It probably blew his mind that Locks is winning 7-8 games and getting everything that he wants. He's trying to spend another night in New York City, and they tell him it's too expensive.
Right.
You know, that is the war that's going on with every athletic department. Every athletic director needs to be a freaking attorney or a mediator or something to be able to get everyone to understand on the same page. And so when Will Wade's talking about everybody is singing from the same choir sheet, everybody's on the same page, I'm like, okay, so is this full alignment behind who we are, what we're going to be?
And that's Maryland. That's the Big Ten. To quote the famous American philosopher Christopher Wallace, mo money, mo problems. That's amazing. Sometimes Joe comes up with stuff I don't even know about. The new golf stuff. Again, you can get our shirts. Check them out. Breaking Tea. The link is below. Very proud of myself this week. Chip Patterson. I went to the butcher's market and I got myself a ribeye.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and I did not get hot dogs.
I did not. I got a ribeye.
I finished the hot dogs, and now I'm back for more.
And I'm back.
Ribeye, nice.
Sometimes I wonder with our corporate champions if they're like, hey, Joe, I think it's awesome that you love the hot dog, because it really is. However, if we could potentially promote our fastball, I would appreciate it.
Do you know what our profit margin is on these other items on here?
So do me a favor.
Yeah.
Go to the butcher's market, get yourself a ribeye, or get a steak sandwich. The steak and cheese off the charts for lunch. You can have yourself an excellent lunch at the butcher's market and all of their locations, thebutchersmarkets.com. And of course, Hayes Lancaster, the OG.
Sco Caps.
Our guy. Yes, Sco Caps, our guy. You got to vamp for a second because he did actually send me actual information. I usually just kind of go off the riff here and go off the cuff.
I mean, the thing that's so impressive is that there's just so many different ways that he can provide services for you and your home. I mean, there are lots of different ways.
So here we go. They have a promotion going on here in April. It's $29 for your first mosquito control service. Now, this is technically for new customers. However, you tell them you heard about it on the OG, they will honor that deal. So $29 for your first mosquito control service. Here's the thing. A single mosquito can travel up to 2 miles in search of a meal. Don't let it be your family. Don't be the meal. Okay? This is what we're here for, the Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority. $29, no contracts, but they do believe in saving you money. So go check them out. It's bugsbite.com. housekeeping.com. And Chip, you're here. I really should record a spot with you before you leave because you are the grand master of the roll back.
Roll back. You don't know me like that. Yeah.
Clip, save, put it on the board. Do yourself some money. Do yourself a favor, save some money. Use our promo code OG20.
There's also roll back.
They have something called the Busted Bracket out right now, which is just phenomenal. But I wanted to bring this particular polo to the world's attention because it will be on your way to me very, very soon. I gotta find it though, so we might need to be in. You might need to give me a little vamp territory here, and I'll find it for us.
The Busted Bracket is rocking a Busted Bracket shirt. Is that giving too much love to the NCAA tournament? You know, I feel like the NCAA tournament's close to getting canceled. You know, just culturally, everyone's they're all mad about 1 seeds and lack of upsets.
Here it is. I'm going back to my roots. Are you ready?
Jersey?
Yes.
Let's see.
Back to my roots. It is called appropriately the Garden State. They all have names. So the Garden State, it's red.
Oh, wow.
She's a beauty.
Do you know what I like about that? And obviously, for those who are watching along on YouTube, you get to see it. If not, definitely come back and check it out here in this portion of the proceedings. But I like the seeing eye aspect of this.
Yeah,
like you're not going to see that it's a schooner until you get close.
Got to get closer.
And then all of a sudden, you get to recognize exactly what you're dealing with. That is sharp.
It's a beauty. It's a beauty. So go check them out. Rollback.com. Use our promo code OG20. Save 20% on your first order. And we are almost done with today's program. All right, let's get out of here on Hey Joe. Hey Joe brought to you by Heister Automotive Group today, HeisterAuto.com. You can buy a car from our friends at the Heister Automotive Group. You can sell your car to our friends at the Heister Automotive Group and get your oil changed, get your car inspected. Full service. Get rid of the mice in the car that your parents gave you. That's a thing too. So HeisterAuto.com. Go check them out. All right, Chip. Let's start with a email actually I received.
Okay.
Hey, Joe. Did the Wolfpack in 2024 kill Cinderella? It's not a bad thought process if you think about it. NC State created March Madness in 1983.
Right.
Jim Valvano and their improbable run to a title. Maybe Kevin Keats in 2024 killed the Madness with their unlikely run to the Final Four. What do you think?
I disagree. I think Cinderella will be back.
We'll be back?
Yeah.
She's just sleeping?
Yeah. Again, it's competition.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to, as much as everyone believes that the NBA might be rigged, but college sports is not rigged. Okay. Not only can it not be rigged because there's too much incompetence at every level to pull off a grand scheme like this, but I think that when you are dealing with all of it is one of the things that I love about college sports. We are dealing with the unpredictability of 18 to 23-year-olds performing a sport on a high stakes environment. Sometimes wild stuff happens. And guess what? Sometimes it doesn't. So I don't think Cinderella is dead. NC State in 83 is a Cinderella, correct?
Not if you ask them, but yes. I mean, they created March Madness. The way that they won the games that they won.
Was NC State in 24 a Cinderella?
I mean, they had to be because they're a double-digit seed. It all depends on what your definition of Cinderella is.
I know.
You know what I mean?
So,
it almost feels like now Cinderella has to be somebody from outside of the power structure. It almost feels like that, like the one-offs, if you will. Loyola, VCU, Wichita.
St. Peter's, Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is Cinderella truly just needs to get to the second weekend.
Yes.
And then just get put in the locker. Like that is the proper way. I mean, if you want to be St. Peter's and beat Purdue, that's
George Mason in 06.
That's hilarious, to see Purdue lose in that way. But ultimately, then North Carolina put them in a locker in the Elite Eight. So Cinderella will be back. I think that we didn't quite have the right teams necessarily to be able to really. You had UC San Diego, everyone was excited about.
Even the matchups, I thought, like Robert Morris was a team that was playing really good basketball.
But
down
they go
the
up
stretch.
against Alabama.
The way that they play matched up with the way that Alabama plays.
Right.
You know, McNeese did beat Clemson, but obviously we're just swarmed by Purdue. You know, what was the other one Carolina would have been the first 4 team that we all thought could make a run through that bracket, but obviously they're not Cinderella. So it's harder now. I don't know if I necessarily buy it's because of NIL and transfer portal and losing your players. Obviously, if Iona still had Clayton, we're having a different conversation, but you can say the same thing last year about, DJ Burns was still at Winthrop, or, DJ Horn was still at Illinois State.
Did you know that Belmont had 3 players in the Sweet 16?
I did. And not including the guy that Carolina got, of course.
Right.
So
of course, Kate Tyson.
And I promise we are going to pay off your Carolina-ness here, but let's go to our YouTube comments from yesterday, because there was 2 of them in here that made me laugh. Number 1 was from Russell Blake. Wow, a Seals and cross reference toward the end of the podcast. Joey Giggs, are you sure you're not turning 60 or 70 this year? Hey, man, it's Freedom Rock. Well, turn it up. Yes. I have this dream of getting Jonathan Rand in here and going through all of those great
acapella
play, all the different songs that we have and jingles that we have, and kind of scrolling them down here.
I really hope that people understand how much time and effort you spent into preparing Rand to go for the kill.
Yes,
with that
of,
one.
Of course.
You were the mastermind of those.
Usually. And again, here's Jeannie from yesterday. As a Carolina fan, hating Duke comes naturally as breathing, but you make good points. Duke doesn't have a hateful coach, no dirty players. Still chaps my Carolina blue ass to pull for Duke. All right, let's get to the last call of today, because I do have one more call that I think will cause a little bit of excitement here. This does require me getting the jingle.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's pull this one home, because I'm gonna attempt to just play it without stopping it, but we'll see how it goes.
Hey guys, how's it going? Just got a little something to say here, and please don't take this the wrong way. I love you guys. I always listen to the show. Please don't get offended. I mean this with all love.
I'm gonna hit pause. It's bad. You know what's coming next.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
How come you guys call yourself an unbiased podcast when you constantly shit on Carolina and you constantly glaze Duke and NC State? I understand the NC State love. I know you guys went there. I know you're homers. I get that. But now that Duke's on this run, you guys are constantly praising Duke to the freaking sun, especially Giglio. Oh, Duke's a fucking war machine. Blah, blah, blah. This is the best Duke team ever.
Whoa. Time out. The phrase has been used, Duke is a war machine, but never, not once, have I said this is Duke's best team ever. Just making that clear.
Ever. They're so likable. They're not likable at all. John Shire's a piece of shit. Cooper Flagg is going to be the biggest bust in NBA history. He's going to be the next Darko Milicic or whatever that guy's name was. Yeah, that's going to be Cooper Flagg. This team is not likable at all. They're going to lose in the Final Four. They're absolutely going to lose in the Final Four, probably to Houston, and you guys are going to make excuses for them, like you always do. Last year when Carolina was on a run, all you were doing was shitting on them, and when they lost, all you did was bag on them. Just my point is please give Carolina some love, or just admit that you guys hate Carolina and you can't be unbiased. That's all I got to say. Just keep it 100, keep it transparent. Yeah, that's all I got. Love you guys. Peace. Hey guys.
All right, there's a lot there. Joe likes to say he's unbiased, which I don't. Everyone has their biases.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? And Joe will tell you his bias is that he likes to root for the show. I would just say to you, and you're saying nice things to us, but I'm not sure you've been paying that much attention to the way we talk about Carolina. I was the one who pointed out all year. I thought they were a tournament team. I thought they're not great. I get it. They're not your standard, but they're still a tournament team. Well, it turned out they were a tournament team. And when they were playing well in the last 3-4 weeks of the season, all we did was talk about how they were playing well, that Hubert had made an adjustment, changed the lineup. That's the sign of good coaching, all those things. But I get it. Like I went to NC State. I got my own biases about that. But here's the thing I think even Joe gets confused by. I root for the people who like me. So yes, I rooted for Kevin Keats. I root for Elliot Avent. I rooted for Roy Williams. I mean, listen, I have a complicated relationship with Duke. But John Shire, I like John Shire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that doesn't mean I'm rooting for them, but it also means I also like to see things that haven't happened before. And I think what John's doing right now with this, the guy following the guy, it's just so hard. It's just so hard.
I got in trouble. So I was guest hosting on the Eye on College Basketball podcast on Saturday night, the reaction after Duke in Florida. And I was talking about Shire, talking about a lot of this. And I got roasted because I didn't have one reference. And sure as shit, Sparty fans found me because apparently Judd Heathcote to Tom Izzo is like
no.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. I was about to do a list of coaches who have won national titles in consecutive. Obviously, the one that no one ever thinks of. Whatever your viewpoint is of Pitino, but he won one at Kentucky, and Tommy Smith won one the next year.
Guy after the guy.
Wild, which is wild if you think about it. Obviously, Joe B. Hall won a title. Adolph Rupp, right? My guy JC Zembel always gets mad at me when I don't bring up Joe B. Hall, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's just so hard. It's just, and Krzyzewski's the one who did it differently than all of them, and that's where I really want John to get his credit because I think he really has done things his own way, put his own stamp on things. But you have to give Mike credit because he basically lost the battle to win the war. He knows the pressure he put on that 22 team by announcing what he did. Like the 92 team would have been mature enough to handle that type of pressure. But Paolo Banchero and whoever the second fiddle was on that team, because I can't even remember, right? Those guys were never going to be able to handle that type of pressure.
Right.
So, but Mike did it and did it anyway because I remember we went and talked to him in a hotel room in Greensboro. We went upstairs because he didn't want to do Radio Row. So we went upstairs. He took some time with us. And he said, this is how Fortune 500 companies do it. This is how the military does it. He's not just going to turn the thing over. He's going to have them. And remember, Tommy Amaker and Johnny Dawkins were both fairly serious candidates for that job. But they also had their own jobs and said, no, I'm not going to come spend a year with you as an apprentice. And obviously John was there in position to do that. And I think he was right. I think he's had the, and the way I always put it was, you got to understand Michael Jordan is everyone's idea of the most competitive person ever, right?
Yeah.
That's our model, right? There's a million stories. I saw another one about Derek Martin and the Space Jam set on my socials today. Mike Krzyzewski, though, is really running a race, as he likes to say, run your own race. He's running a historic race. Like Wooden didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
His mentor, Bobby Knight, didn't do it. Dean kind of sort of got there, but there was 2 stops in between to Roy. So the way he looks at it is as a competitor, if all of these greats who I am compared to couldn't do it, what would make my legacy even higher than theirs? And I think this was in his head the whole time.
We also all have our own biases. And Mike Krzyzewski's greatest bias, Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to tell me he's going to, on the deepest level, with the thing that he treasures the absolute most, entrust it to somebody who's not from Chicago? Much less like a Chicago basketball legend.
Right.
No way. Absolutely not. I thought as a listener, North Carolina was a main character of the 23-24 season.
Yeah.
17-3 in conference play, regular season champions. Your Harrison Ingram, who is the shooter? Cormac Ryan. And
people don't like it when I'm right though. And I that's also where we get into like, I root for people that I like. I also root for myself. I told people all year last year that Carolina was just ACC good, that they weren't a national title team. And then of course, Alabama takes care of them in the Sweet 16.
But it was the example of when your scratch offs work, when your transfers work.
Yeah.
You know, like it was another chapter of the year-to-year proposition. You know, so put another coin in the jar. That to me was the story of that. And guess what? Now you come back this year, it doesn't hit. It'd be like that sometimes. North Carolina fans are sensitive, in my opinion, because they are dealing with their own internal reckoning. They are dealing with their own internal reckoning that the basketball program is dealing with. That doing things the way that you have always done them is no longer good enough.
It's sobering.
And that realization has been very difficult for a program whose entire identity is on the way things have always been done and carrying on tradition and keeping it in the family and doing everything just like how Dean did it. And so that is where I think there is some sensitivity to anybody, even members of the media who went to North Carolina and are writing stories exposing some of the deficiencies that are going on compared to what's happening at other programs. When we get the Jim Tanner announcement, we've got all these lists of other jobs that are going to be put out there. You want to know why? Because Alabama's got an army of polo shirts.
Yeah.
And that army of polo shirts is like basically going Connor Stallions on the opponent. You know, they are putting together the most comprehensive scouting reports. They are getting those players prepared. They are overspending to be able to get the maximum amount of competitive advantage. And so it isn't just NIL. It's not just what you're going to pay these players. It is everything that is being poured into the basketball program. To modernize is to run up the bill. And I think that this is that is why I think it's a little bit of a tough conversation for North Carolina fans to have, which is why they're a little bit sensitive to it.
It's not the bell. It's not the well.
Or the stone walls. What is it that binds us to this place, unlike any other?
I did that just for you. Somehow I lost it. Somebody was looking for, we'll get out of here. They were looking for a Masters bet. I know what my pick is. What's your pick for the Masters? In the chat here. I don't know how we lost it.
Well, so you've got to decide at the very, very top, are you going to do a Scotty Rory, right?
The way Rory's been playing, you at least have to think about it.
Correct. But also, Scotty's won this thing twice, and Rory has like psyched himself out of this tournament in the most unusual and hilarious way.
And I would say if you want either one of them, let them shoot a 72 on opening day, first day, and then take them that day. Don't take them pre-flop.
Rory's round one scoring average at Augusta National is between 72 and 73.
Yeah.
His round four scoring average, where he's just preparing to go backdoor a 60, like a 65 on Sunday morning, just to get the blood pumping for everybody, to get the leaders starting to feel a little bit of heat. No, I haven't run the Chipolytics yet on the full Masters card. I need to. I've been all basketball.
Okay.
You know, it's such a violent swing to go from college football into college basketball, go hard on college basketball. And I'll be traveling as I mentioned, and some of my downtime, I'll start running the Chipolytics again and see what we like.
So I have two futures that I enjoy. In January is when I like to take my majors.
All the majors. Yeah.
It's when I like to take my majors. This year, my Masters pick was the same pick as I had last year, and that is Bryson DeChambeau. And the number is plus 22, which is nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. As opposed to, and he's one who's got to run hot. Like, he's not a comeback. He's not a, let me scrape and claw and get back into this thing. So you can't rely on him. If he shoots a 72, 73, he's probably done. You know what I mean?
Maybe we got to see what the weather, we got to see,
sure.
You know, what,
but in general, I like him better as somebody who starts fast.
Sure.
Right. So I think plus 22 is a nice number. That's the one I have for him. The other one I have for him, because I do think a lot of people at Quail Hollow and the PGA are going to pick Rory. It's a course that he always wins at. That's also a bomber's course, though. Who's a bigger bomber than my guy? So I took him for both. I also took him at plus, I think it's plus 350 to win a major this year.
Ooh.
So kind of covering on a lot of fronts there. Have not dove into either the US Open or the British yet. So those are the two that I have. I would have taken Rory in Charlotte for the PGA, but the number's stupid. It's like +5 or some nonsense. I just can't buy. I can't take a golf tournament with the numbers that low.
No.
So, all right, Chip Patterson, I know you have a busy week. And I appreciate you coming in today. We did this in a tidy hour and 35 minutes. Appreciate all who watched along here live to tape. We will be available at 2 o'clock on the YouTubes right here. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe. Do us a favor. Go get yourself a shirt from Breaking Tea. Do us a favor. Leave a comment, give us a star, all those good things. Chip Patterson, that's quite a payoff you got there. You got the black card.
I might have come out with the better end of the deal here. We'll see. We'll see if I get like blacklisted with the black card for overuse.
No, but where will people find you this week in your coverage of the Final Four?
Yeah, so I will be on CBS Sports HQ with lots of coverage on Saturday and on Monday. CBS Sports app, cbssportshq.com, or if you've got a Samsung television, you can find CBS Sports HQ. I believe it's channel 2230 on just sort of like your Samsung free TV. We're also on Pluto TV and much more.
Well, I love going to a local bar and seeing you in the background. I always text you when I do, so check him out. That's Chip Patterson, CBS Sports. We're the OG. We'll be back tomorrow, and we will hit our Hayes Permar portion of this program. And we got 2 days of Hayes for the next 2 days here, right here on the OG.